till I reach the top somehow. I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. I'll keep moving on.
My Straight Talk family, those of you who are pondering and wondering, I am here. For those who are asking whether I am in quarantine, I'm not. And even though they would have tried to put me in quarantine, they would have been able to quarantine my body perhaps, but not my voice. But Straight Talk is here, and I want to apologize. I want to apologize again for this late start. We were waiting patiently on Radio ZSN, but I guess we all know that it's always better to be late than never. So we waited patiently, and here am I now, and I welcome you to another edition of Straight Talk on this Monday, the 13th day of June. And it's time for me to say a very pleasant night to my Straight Talk family in St. Kitts and Nevis and throughout the entire Caribbean region. My Straight Talk family in the Kittitian and Nevisian diaspora all over the world. I know that some of you are in Africa, there are some of you in Asia, there are some of you in Europe, and there are a whole lot of you all over North America. So I'm at liberty to say good night. I can say good morning, and I can also say good afternoon, because one of such greetings I know will be applicable to the region in which you now find yourselves. And I'm happy that we can connect for yet another Monday evening. Remember, if you're joining me for the first time, Straight Talk is a public service program that's aired every Monday and Thursday from 8 to 10 p.m. And we discuss all issues of national interest, be they legal, be they environmental, be they technological, social, economic, and or political issues. On Straight Talk, you do have a forum to express yourselves freely, and let's in the process continue to keep St. Kitts and Nevis as one of the freest countries in the entire world. We try to raise the level of national consciousness. We try to raise the level of national discourse by alerting our people to their rights, to their responsibilities, and certainly to their obligations. My name is Liburd, and I give Almighty God thanks for blessing me with yet another opportunity to join you in conversation on yet another occasion. And remember that Straight Talk is a participative program. By that I mean we entertain your calls, we entertain your emails, and if you're so minded to call, then the numbers are 869-663-6672 and or 646-829-6672. And for those who like the cloak of anonymity, if you are respectful, then you are hidden. If you're not, then we expose you. And I tell you, my Straight Talk family, if you are so minded as well to send an email, then the platform by which you access our email or the address should be zizstraighttalk@gmail.com. We have lost a lot of time, and I haven't seen the COVID-19 update. And just for those of you who are pondering, I don't know why I showed up as unvaccinated, but I've been vaccinated since April of 2021. So if you're vaccinated once, how on earth you can become unvaccinated, I don't know. But I can only say that garbage in, garbage out. Whatever you put into the system, that's what you will get out. Nonetheless, I'm here, and I'm happy to be able to join you, my Straight Talk family, live on another edition of Straight Talk. Not from quarantine, but free. I listened to a news item, by the way, presented by veteran journalist Glenn Barth, the content of which I really found quite interesting. I found the content of the news item by Glenn Barth very, very interesting, my Straight Talk family. And I just got the information, before I go to that, the information in relation to the latest update as of yesterday. We had just one confirmed case of COVID-19. But I was saying that the content of this news item I found very interesting. And more than that, it was very interesting to note that the churches and the NGOs have all suddenly awoke from a deep slumber. And I say so respectfully. And here's what I listened to my Straight Dog family from a news item in relation to a letter, an open letter, by the way, written to the Honorable Prime Minister from the St. Kitts and the Nevis Christian Councils, the Evangelical Associations of St. Kitts and Nevis, also that Union of Employers called the St. Kitts Nevis Chamber of Industry and Commerce, as well as the Bar Association. And I listened to this news item.
A group of non-governmental organizations, Nevis Christian Council, the St. Kitts Evangelical Association, the Nevis Evangelical Association, the St. Kitts Nevis Chamber of Industry and Commerce, and the St. Kitts and Nevis Bar Association have issued joint communique to all political parties and candidates urging adherence to an updated code of conduct leading into the general elections expected before 9th August 2022. In an open letter to Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris, the group noted that the code of conduct should be mandatory after the dissolution of the National Assembly. The group also raised several concerns with Prime Minister Harris. In the open letter, the NGOs stated observations have been made of actions and activities that could affect confidence in the electoral system, create social instability, and which could undermine the respect for true democracy and the rule of law.
I found it very interesting, as I said, as I earlier mentioned, the word slumber, because the Bar Association, for example, had to be fast asleep, or it turned its head and or its eyes the other way when two of its members, like real gangsters, misappropriated their clients' money. One of these gangsters then paid thousands of dollars in the so-called marketing of our destination to be eventually named the best tourism minister of the Caribbean. Kudos to him, or something like that. Next thing you heard, the same best tourism minister in the Caribbean, if that's what he was called, he rat up the police officer at the last lap. And even his own family wondered why he was treated and still being treated perhaps with kids' gloves.
I move on to a man they call Lindsey Grant. You know Lindsey Grant is my family, you know. The uncle child. Lindsey Grant is my family. But I find he's a lucky fellow. I find he's a lucky fellow. Now, the incident at the bar last lap. But I hear from all sides. I hear from all sides. I hear from people locally. I hear from people internationally. I hear from all sides. But I must say, the police erred. The police made a mistake. And remember, you know, I used to be a police. And this is my personal view. The police erred. Because if what they claim is correct, if what they claim that Lindsey Grant did, the police should have locked him up right away. The police don't have to go up on the walkie-talkie and call nobody, say, come help me. Once you beat or obstruct a police officer in the execution of his duties, he or she should be arrested. Lindsey Grant should have gone to jail tonight. So when they're talking about waiting and this, waiting and that. The police heard. And maybe the police should go back and lock him up. The same police should, is a police officer, you know. You know that the police officer is an arresting officer, you know. The police officer is an arresting officer. So, may he not talk about commissioner of police and this and DPP and so forth. Me as a police, I would have write a report, and if a me hit or me box, I would have go for him and lock him up. Let the police them let him go, because the police, they have that power to arrest. So I don't even tell nobody about no, you wait for commissioner, wait for DPP. Your police officer lock up the man if he hit you. And so that there, to me, is where I got a problem when people talk about Lindsey Grant this and wait for commissioner and so forth. You know how the bureaucracy go. You know that Timothy gonna get involved, and Timothy gonna glad to do something for Lindsey to have him three striker man, marry appropriation. Now this three striker man in baseball, he gone. The man not here. And sometimes you want to feel sorry for people, but sometimes you have to let people make their own mistakes and pay the consequences. You understand?
My Straight Talk family, that's his family, and I hope he's still my friend, Big Lice. And for those who may be pondering, God forbid that Lindsey Grant is re-elected, and I trust that the folks in number 4 will be careful, because in the last election in 2020, he was then charged or fined by a court, the highest court in the land, just 1 week after elections, for misappropriating his client's money. And as I said earlier, I said before, that fortunately we don't have any recall legislation, else he would have been recalled. But God forbid he gets elected again, come next elections, the next 40 or 50 days, whenever it's due. He may go to prison because he asks, I'm told, his lawyer to request a postponement of the hearing. Battery is a serious charge. Battery on a police woman, or woman police, however you wish to call it. But for a moment though, I thought that the Christian councils and the evangelical associations lost their moral compass as the reprehensive behavior of our cabinet members went unnoticed and or were overlooked by these Christian bodies. And one of the issues that came out, or the issue that led to where we are today, or one of the issues that led to where we are today, Big Lice, is that the Prime Minister, who is Minister of National Security, refused to interfere or to tamper with justice, and he refused to direct the Commissioner of Police, which created another issue with the leadership and the cabinet. But COVID-19 ravaged economies all over the world, across the whole wide world, and employees are still out of jobs. But here in St. Kitts and Nevis, I always ask myself whether the St. Kitts Nevis Union of Employers, called the Chamber of Industry and Commerce, could have presented another option to their strict policy to terminate if workers refuse to vaccinate. But what bothered me most in this release, though, was this, my Straight Talk family, and I'm still bothered even as I speak with you at this time. What has bothered me most in relation to this release is this comment by the NGOs and the church bodies.
NGOs reminded the Prime Minister and and public statements or signing contracts and implementing projects that could commit an incoming government. NGOs reminded the Prime Minister and cabinet members to refrain from making major policy decisions and public statements or signing contracts and implementing projects that could commit an incoming government.
Now, my Straight Talk family, when I reflected, though, on the content of this open letter to the Prime Minister, it made me wonder if these church leaders, the leaders of the St. Kitts Nevis Christian Council and the Nevis Christian Council, respectively, and the St. Kitts and Nevis Evangelical Association, respectively, also the leader of our St. Kitts Union of Employers, the Chamber of Industry and Commerce, and the Bar Association. I wonder if these church leaders and or the leaders of the NGOs who signed the joint communique know that governments all over the world are continuous and do not come into office or even exist in isolation or a vacuum, and this includes the St. Kitts Nevis government. Governments are therefore successive and should not be looked at in isolation. To tell a Prime Minister, for example, to name a date for the general election borders to me on being rather offensive and is ultra-virus the Constitution, the St. Kitts Nevis Constitution, which states in Part 3, Section 46, and I quote, each session, the subsection 1, each session of Parliament shall be held at such place within St. Christopher and Nevis, and shall begin at such time, not being later than 180 days from the end of the preceding session if Parliament has been prorogued. Or listen to this, or 90 days from the holding of a general election of representatives if Parliament has been dissolved, as the Governor General shall appoint by proclamation. Section 48 of our Constitution speaks to holding of election, and it reinforces this point. And I quote from subsection 1. A general election of members of the National Assembly shall be held at such time within 90 days after any dissolution of Parliament as the Governor General may appoint. Now, after reading Part 3 of our Constitution, there should be no question whatsoever as who decides when the National Assembly is dissolved. As a matter of fact, I posit the view that the ability to dissolve Parliament is a royal prerogative exercised on the advice of the Prime Minister. Yes, it is a royal prerogative because the Governor General, Sir Tapley, is or represents Her Majesty the Queen or Queen Elizabeth. This means that the Prime Minister can request a dissolution at a time of their choosing or his or her choosing, though it must be within 5 years of the last general elections. But the question we must ask ourselves is what happens to the government when Parliament is dissolved? Well, Parliament and government are two separate institutions. And we are not going to discuss this tonight, but I'm sure that we are all familiar with the three separate branches of government. However, I gleaned from my own research that it was French political philosopher Montesquieu, beg your pardon, in full, his name is Charles-Louis de Secondat, Baron de Liburd et de Montesquieu, who proposed the doctrine of separation of powers in his work, De l'Esprit de Loi, although the first thought of separating the legislative power was advocated by John Locke into this continuous legislative power, continuous legislative power, and federative power. Now, John Locke, on the other hand, was an English philosopher and physician widely regarded as one of the most influential of enlightened thinkers, and commonly known, beg your pardon, as the father of liberalism, beg your pardon, liberalism. I must also note that internationally, Locke's political legal principles continue to have a profound influence on the theory and practice of limited representative government and the protection of basic rights and freedoms under the rule of law. I'm not certain who coined or who originated the proposition power corrupts and absolute power corrupts or tends to corrupt absolutely. But writing in 1748, Montesquieu said, and I quote, "When the legislative and the executive powers are united in the same person or in the same body of magistrates, there can be no liberty, because apprehensions may arise lest the same monarch or senate should exact tyrannical laws to execute them in a tyrannical manner." Again, it continues, "There is no liberty if the judicial power be not separated from the legislative and the executive. Where it joined with the legislative, the life and the liberty of the subject would be exposed to arbitrary control, for the judge would be then a legislator. Where it joined the executive power, the judge might behave with violence and oppression. There would be an end of everything with the same man or the same body, whether of nobles or of the people, to exercise those three powers, that of enacting laws, that of executing the public resolutions, and of trying the causes of individuals." And this is very instructive, my straight dog family. The government does not resign. I repeat that. The government does not resign when parliament is dissolved. Government ministers remain in charge of their departments. It's the parliament that's dissolved, not the government. And let us examine this issue about the government as of 2015. Because I recall it in 2013, I think it was, I recall the launch of the Team Unity administration when all three parties, the CCM, the PAM, and PLP, joined together on one platform. I was humbled to be there. The launch at Greenlands, we all knew that Timothy Harris was the leader. So the launch at Greenlands, or we launched at Greenlands with Tim as leader. We launched when we won. We expected Tim, or Timothy Harris, to become Prime Minister. And that is what happened, without any issue whatsoever. Come 2020, Timothy Harris was leader. Team Unity won. But before he got sworn in, Lindsey Grant and Jonell went to the Governor General, Mark, two messengers, I should say. And Mark didn't come. Mark didn't come and wouldn't answer his telephone. They objected to the reappointment of the Attorney General, Vincent Juicy Byron. The night before the swearing-in ceremony, Lindsey Grant, his behavior was obnoxious. He said he was not going to attend the swearing-in ceremony the next day. Attorney General Byron had to agree almost midnight at night that he will accept the position of Attorney General. Would you believe that Lindsey, Jonell, and the whole PAM gang turned against the Attorney General, Vincent Byron? And Juicy, I'm sorry if I mention this because I didn't ask your permission. I have to talk the truth. So it all started in 2020 when these two vagabonds, according to Dumpling Manners, went to the Gigi and tried to derail the appointment of Tim Harris as Prime Minister. And I can talk all night about Lindsey Grant, because he was the Minister of Trade for 5 years and never attended one quoted meeting. The Council of Economic and Trade for CARICOM. I knew that because I happened to chair a meeting of quoted that dealt with energy, and they applauded me, St. Kitts, as the chair then. And I learned he never attended one meeting for 5 years. But that's for another time, my Straight Dog family. So 2 years later, on May 10th, 2022, Prime Minister Harris reshuffled his cabinet portfolios, and that's his constitutional authority. He fired several government ministers in the process and announced the dissolution of Parliament in one full swoop, according to a journalist. And he exercised over these 2 years patience. A matter of fact, he exercised patience over the last 7 years. And he got more faith than Job, I can tell you. But one thing that comes to mind about the firing of the 6 wayward cabinet ministers and the Prime Minister's speech to the nation was the significance of government as a continuum. Of course, he highlighted the provisions of the Constitution of the country in the context of the spirit of continuity in government. Now, what do I mean? Nigerian journalist and editor Oguwiki Nyochukwu wrote this, and I quote, "Government, we are told, is a continuum. It is akin to a relay race where buttons exchange hands or hands exchange buttons from one participant to another, with the overall intent of getting to the destination of the race, which is to win the trophy. In a relay race, there is not supposed to be any ambiguity. In other words, from one button to the other is simple. If anything, the sole common feature in a relay race is collective action, which translates to collective victory. Suffice to say, the victory and the joy therefrom are shared by everyone." My Straight Dog family, that is exactly what government is expected to be. To understand these rules, and leaders in a situation like that must understand their role in government vis-a-vis the rules. To understand these rules, you must look to the Constitution. The Constitution is the supreme law of St. Christopher and Nevis. And subject to the provisions of this Constitution, our Constitution, if any other law is inconsistent with the Constitution, then it shall prevail. The Constitution shall prevail, and the other law shall, to the extent of the inconsistency, be void. Prime Minister Harris spared no effort in trying to make St. Kitts and Nevis a country that works, not just for a privileged few, but for everyone. In 2015 and 2020, the people were given 2 choices, Douglas or Harris. The people chose Harris twice for Prime Minister. So as our leader, even at this time, Prime Minister Harris still has a duty to implement what is good for the people, and he has continued to do and has done his best to do that. What does the government do in the time remaining before we go to the polls? If my calculations right, we have about 2 more months, I believe, or correct me if I'm wrong, or 60 days. So what should the government do within those 60 days? The government is responsible for deciding how the country is run and for managing things day to day. The government must consider and try to deliver to the best of its ability services, public services such as the National Health Service, national security, our police and our defense forces, including the Coast Guard. Public services as it speaks to our social assistance, welfare benefits. And some people are asking me as I walk around, your government increased salaries for the civil servants, but what about the pensioners? Those pensioners, shouldn't they get an increase? People are asking that question. Electricity, and what has the government done? The government had to bail out Skellig. Should the government have just looked the other way and said that, oh, we're a caretaker and we don't bail out Skellig and deal with the people?
In the last 8 to 12 months, the field which is a major input that drives the generation of electricity, that cost has doubled and would have cost you more in your pockets if the government had not intervened. We have intervened by bailing out Skellig. Government is paying for the fuel. And by government paying for the fuel, government is saving you in your pocket. At least for the month of May, it is estimated something like $5 million. Had it not been for the intervention of government, Skellig will probably be forced to put on what we call a surcharge, and then you will really feel it in your pocket.
No, a good government, even in this period, address the issues relating to water and electricity. Water, would you believe? For 2 years now, Sean Richards under the Ministry of...
The government only in December
the Ministry of...
signed a contract for over $6 million.
Infrastructure.
With Deed LLC.
Sean Richards, in fact, signed a contract 2 years ago, a $6 million contract. And what has become of that contract?
Drilling, remediation in the Keyon and Basti areas. We are confident that a permanent solution to the water shortage with the good people of Keyon have endured over the years would soon be a thing of the past. Government only in December last year signed a contract for over $6 million with Deed LLC to undertake well drilling, remediation in the Keyon and Basti areas. We are confident that a permanent solution to the water shortage with the good people of Keyon have endured over the years would soon be a thing of the past.
My people, that was 2 years ago, in December 2020. But I have my views on that bid contract. But let me speak to the pre-election period. And I want to be clear about that. Now, there are rules in relation to the conduct of government business during the pre-election period. And on the issue of pre-election period of sensitivity, the letter noted that the executive, led by the cabinet, should exercise certain behavior or should conduct themselves in keeping with a renewed or revised code of conduct. Now, my Straight Talk family, continuity of government is the principle of establishing defined procedures that allow a government to continue its essential operations in a case, in our case, if there's a hurricane, our hurricane season just started, we are still in COVID, and the other eventualities that may arise. Now, ministers remain in office and in charge of their departments, but yes, they ought to observe discretion. I agree with these bodies, the church bodies and the NGOs, that ministers must observe discretion in respect of announcement of any new, underlying new initiatives. I support that fully. But there must be continuity in government, as during the pre-election period, the essential infrastructure of the government must be protected, permitting its continued operation and authority during this time. Continuity in government is intended to preserve the form of representative government, continuity of the rule of law to ensure general safety, and protect the government from illegal assumption of power, who knows, by some foreign or some anti-government organizations. But what? The power of dissolution, my straight dog family, is the power to end the term of office of a parliament so as to cause new elections to take place. The dissolution of our parliament was to ensure stability within the country. And since May 10th, 2022, answer the question, haven't the country been stabilized since we fired those 6 vagrant ministers? Isn't the country stable since they have been fired? According to Dumpling, listen to the ordinary people, vagabonds. On the basis of the constitutional rules of the Senkis and Nevis, the dissolution of the parliament will be used to renew government's mandate, and more so to elect the best leader for a better St. Kitts. And our last discussion, you told the world who is the best leader for a better St. Kitts. So what does dissolution mean for the government? Government ministers remain in post and continue to run the departments when parliament is dissolved. They are only replaced when a new government is formed following the general election. The difference now is that 6 of the government ministers were fired, and rightly so, as they were using their offices to destabilize the country. The Deputy Prime Minister failed, refused to attend cabinet meetings for over 3 months. And yes, I readily agree with the established convention that there should be pre-election restrictions on what the government can do following the dissolution of parliament, in terms, as I said before, of both initiating policy and in the use of official resources. And I want to tell the country, in conclusion, that the present government can and should sign contracts or implement projects that would likely, or even if it likely commits an incoming government. Or to say, I should say, let me say it this way, to say that the present government cannot sign contracts or implement projects that will likely commit an incoming government ignores the simple fact that for sustained progress and development, government ought to be continuum, as the inherent limitation of 5 years imposed by our Constitution. It simply means that leaders with long-term goals for success and beneficial projects which may go beyond their tenure will have to rely on their successors to buy into their plan and continue its execution for the public good. Look at the Basti High School. Look at the Basti High School, my straight dog family. Who would believe that since 2015, the Deputy Prime Minister wrote this letter as the Minister of Education. And he wrote this letter, and I'll take some excerpts from the letter dated the 14th of August 2015. It says, it's captioned, "The New Bastia High School and Temporary Student Accommodation." And it reads, and I quote, "The Cabinet at its meeting of today agreed to enter into negotiations with your companies as general contractor to provide construction services for the temporary accommodation and the design and construction services of the new Bastia High School at a site to be determined by the Cabinet. Further, the Cabinet has authorized the Ministry of Public Works and Infrastructure to negotiate a contract to construct 3 new building blocks with 6 classrooms in each building. Pursuant," it continues, "to Cabinet's decision, the Ministry of Education hereby invites your companies to submit an offer to construct a temporary student accommodation in a time frame not to exceed 15 weeks. And this is signed by the then Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Education, Youth, Sports and Culture, Sean Richards. And that is 7 years ago, in 2015. In 2018, a memorandum was signed on the 9th day of July 2018 and made between the government of St. Kitts, represented by the Director of Public Works, and this company. And it went on to read, my stray dog family. It spoke to the project description, and it spoke as well to the counterparts and the signing. And the counterpart and signing are here, signed by the Director of Public Works. The point I'm making, though, my stray dog family, are we going to wait another 5 years for the people or the children of East Bastia in particular and other environs in Bastia, students? Are we going to wait longer to put these students in an environment that is conducive to learning? No, hell no, we will say. The government has a right, even at this time, to ensure that the Bastia High School project starts, and it has done so. Kudos to them. Look at the traffic lights. 2 years ago, if it wasn't for COVID in 2019, those traffic lights would have been installed. They would have been installed. It took Sean Richards 2 years and more, but he will never complete the installation of these lights because he tried to accommodate his friend at Kentucky, and not the Derby I'm talking about. The water shortage. What did Sean Richards do? People in Bird Rock, in Cairn, in Saddlers, all over the country. My stray dog family suffering. But again, my stray dog family, finally, to make the point in terms of the analogy I made with the governments completing the others. Kennedy Simmons commissioned Port Zante in 1993. It was Douglas who completed the new cruise pier in 1998, I think it was. It took Patches and Team Unity 20 years after to complete a second cruise pier. So I can go on and on, my straight dog family. But the point is, government is a continuum. It is continuous. And that's my story for tonight, and I'm not going to change it. I'm going to open the lines and entertain your calls and your emails. I do apologize for the tardy start, the late start again, beyond our control. But my straight dog family, do not be fooled. Do not get overexcited. Do not be distracted. Whether it's the Chamber of Industry and Commerce, whether it's the Bar Association, whether it's the Christian Councils of St. Kitts and Nevis, or whether the evangelical associations as well. You understand. Just understand one point. The parliament was dissolved. Government is continuous. What other things do you believe that the government should do? These are some of the questions I'm going to ask you, my straight talk family. We spoke about the pensions. I don't think government has that authority though, but that would have to be done by the chairman and the board of the Social Security, or the Social Security Board, I think it is called. But some things I'm sure need to be done, and I want you to tell me what you think could be done, because you have a government no matter what they say. Government is continuous. The parliament was dissolved, not the government. I'm going to open your lines and entertain your calls and entertain your emails. I always like to implore you though, when I do so, and I'll do so in a few seconds, I implore you to respect others. And of course, to achieve that, you must first respect yourselves. Let us try to be fair to all concerned. Let us try to build goodwill and better friendships. Let us ensure that the things we say and or do will be beneficial to all concerned. And in doing and saying those things, my straight talk family, let us strive to build a kinder, gentler St. Kitts and Nevis. Do not be fooled about illegal government or former prime minister. We do have a government in place. The parliament was dissolved, not the government. What's your view, my straight talk family? I'll entertain it here and now. I take this first call. Caller, you are live. I am peaceful, my dear. Yourself? Thank you very much. Slumber, yes, deep slumber. Thank you very much, my dear. Yes, we wonder what happened to the Bar Association in particular. All these hanky-panky went on with their own members, and they said nothing. They probably were asleep. But the fact that they're trying to misguide us, and again, let me make the point. I believe during this pre-election period, there must be a code of conduct. The government should not introduce any new initiatives or introduce any new policy that is binding for another government. But don't tell me that a government cannot implement projects, sign contracts, nonsense. And I say so respectfully, my straight up family. Because I read the Constitution, and you can read the Constitution as well. And as I said to you, from my research, I have learned, and I very well believe, my straight talk family, that government is a continuum. Government is continuum. Government is continuous. The government does not resign when parliament is dissolved. Not at all. Government ministers remain in charge of their departments as per the Constitution. So, my straight talk family, we have to avoid being distracted, because these organizations can only be providing distraction for the people. The government has 90 days in which to call elections. Who are you to tell a government, name the election date? Nonsense, I say so respectfully. My straight dog family, it's 9:04. We started a little late. The lines are open. The numbers, again, 663-6672, that's the local number, and or 646-829-6672. Good evening, Ambassador Liburd reads this email. Hope your ministry is going okay. Yes, I think you're referring to the Ministry of Giving. That's going well. We'll have some action on the weekend. We'll tell you much more about that. I need some kind of explanation, it reads, for the phrase fair share that's being touted about by NRP and CCM. As the people, we need some qualified legal minds to come and explain. Otherwise, going forward, when the next government is formed, it's going to be a thorny issue, especially if there's a coalition government. Say bless. Challenges are gifts, beg your pardon, that force us to search for a new center of gravity. Don't fight them. Just find a new way to stand. Caller, you're live. Thank you for holding. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller. I am peaceful, my dear. Yourself? Sounds like very, very restful and at times very busy. Yes. Thank you very much, my dear sister. Again, sounds like Alice in Wonderland. My Straight Dog family, it's 9:07. Our lines are open. We're entertaining your calls. And we must make the point, stand with your government. Your government is legal, no matter what you say. Government is continuous. The parliament has dissolved, not the government is still on the job. Caller, you're live. Good evening, my brother. How art thou tonight? I saw Lappy yesterday, I must admit. I saw Lappy yesterday, looking good. He's looking younger than you, man. I haven't seen him for a long time. Let me take that back. He's looking young. So.
But they forget that. Then we get away. We demand any business.
Thank you very much, my dear brother. We do apologize for what seemed to be an audio problem. Are you still there, caller?
Yeah, I'm here.
Well, okay, let's see what's happening. But thanks for your input nonetheless. See what's happened to the other callers. Thanks a lot. Yeah, thank you very much. Again, we apologize for that audio problem and see what can be sorted out. In the meanwhile, you know, but we'll get things out. My Stray Dog family. We will sort things out again. What's happening to my audio here? But in the event you've just joined me, and if you're hearing me, my Stray Dog family, that we are looking at the government, right? We are looking at the government, and some people want to suggest that the government can do this and the government can do that. But trust me, it is nonsense. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you are live. Hello, caller. Good. Yes, I'm hearing you loud and clear, my brother. Are you here? Yes. Thank you, my brother. We're still having some difficulty with the audio, I'm told. Bear with me, my Stray Dog family. We're going to sort those matters out, but we will continue nonetheless. We will sort those audio problems out with the telephones. I don't know what are the issues, but here's what. Just believe. I'm a strong believer. And I know we're going to get things started out tonight before the program is done. But let's try calling the numbers still. They are 663-6672 and or 646-829-6672, my Straight Dog family. I introduce the topic tonight, government is continuous. So I believe that some people are trying to distract us. I believe that some of these organizations were actually fast asleep. But let's go back to the line. Let's see if this call is hearing it. Caller, you live. Yes, my dear. How are you, Dumping Harry? I understand. Okay, Dumping Harris, I got you loud and clear. Yes. Just give me 1 second there, my Straight Dog family. We'll sort these matters out. Don't you move. Don't you move at all from where you're at. Don't you move.
up somehow. That I will achieve, because I do the things I should, between my brethren kind and good. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on to reach the top somehow. I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow.
My Stray Dog family, I'm back. I want to say that we are doing okay. Let's try these numbers again one more time. The numbers are 646 829 6672 or 663 6672. We're not going to let anything distract us tonight. Just like those NGOs want to distract us, nothing else can distract us. As I said, government is continuous. Government is continuous, my Stray Dog family, and do not be fooled. The parliament was dissolved, not the government. The parliament was dissolved and not the government, my Stray Dog family. Are you there? If you're just joining us again, let's try those numbers. I do apologize for what's happened. Let's go back to lines and see if we can hear these calls this time. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller? Are you there, caller? Yes, you're live. Yes, caller, good night. Yes, go ahead, caller. I'm hearing you. Yeah, but caller, can I interrupt you? You're so correct. They don't go in and out of the parliament, and the constitution speaks to convening of parliament even after dissolution, right? But it has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with the parliament. The parliament is dissolved, but the government still functions. The government must function. The parliament is dissolved. It has nothing to do with the government. So I don't agree with you with that one. Are you there? Well, the Constitution speaks to the dissolution of Parliament, and you're correct. I think I read it before. It was section 40. Give me 1 second. I'll tell you in a minute. It was section 38. Was it? Section 48, right? Part 3 speaks to the dissolution of Parliament, and 46, in fact, speaks to the summoning, prorogation, and dissolution. It speaks to the Parliament, but the government must function. They leave the parliamentary jobs. The parliament, they're separate branches. You have a branch which is the executive branch, and you have the legislative branch. The legislative branch is the parliament. They're separate branches. Yes. Okay. Thanks a lot for your input. Nonetheless, it's a very useful intervention. Nonetheless. As again, we say that the parliament is dissolved, and I did mention earlier, I didn't go into the details, but there are three separate branches. The parliament and the executive or the government are two different institutions. They are two different institutions, my straight dog family. They are different institutions, but that's nonetheless a good point you're making. It's a good point you're making. The good point you're making in relation to the MPs and so on. But let's go back to the lines. I trust I'm hearing the calls. I hope we're hearing them on the outside. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller. Greetings, sir. Greetings, sir. I am peaceful, so yourself? Mm-hmm.
Sharing about how the functional of government is continued. We would like to ask, if the functional government is continuing, how come the government make an election date for them?
Well, if I answer that question, the government has it has 90 days within which to call elections. It doesn't say you have to name a date now.
But why you dissolve Parliament then? Why?
Why the Parliament is dissolved?
My brother, we're still having some difficulty with
the Parliament. The Constitution allows the Prime Minister or the Governor General to dissolve the Parliament upon the advice of the Prime Minister. That is a constitutional requirement.
But the indication when you dissolve, when you dissolve Parliament, you give an outline that you're looking to have an election come in place.
Yes, within 90 days, this says.
Yes, so it's supposed as the administration indicate that when they do these things, they're making sure that they give an election date forthwith.
No, it doesn't say that. They're guided by the Constitution, and I read it before. I'll try to read it again. Okay. Are you there? Are you there, caller?
Yeah, man, me here.
What a resolution?
I hear it, Mr. Patton.
Are you there? Yeah. What a resolution means, right? For government is simple, that government ministers remain in their posts and continue to run their departments, of course, with the public service, the public servants, right? But it does not mean that the ministers go home and pack up. It means that the parliamentarians are no longer members of parliament because the parliament is dissolved. Government is continuous, as I said before.
I find that a joke constitution and I will fear to say so, because it's a backward indication to how you explain that. That's half balancing when you come telling people that you're going to say the parliamentarian them is not functional no more, and the four members of the parliament who are a member of the administration, so they're supposed to be called MP then.
But not because the parliament is dissolved.
So that means
there are no MPs.
That means the post that recently given to these instruments by the Prime Minister to others who are part of his government now. I mean that they stand.
No, I think you're mixing up. They're two separate institutions. They're the government and the parliament. There's different institutions, as simple as that. Let
me make this point. Let me make this point just straight then. The constitution needs to change straight right out, because these things are dysfunctional to the people then. It's dysfunctional. Because you can tell me now that you dissolve the parliament, but you're still doing governmental work. To do what? What kind of work are you doing?
Work of the people.
What work are you doing?
National security, there's health, there's social welfare and other matters to have to deal
And
with.
people still getting robbed. People still getting robbed. People still getting this bad by the workplace. So what the protection is?
So whether
Yeah,
you,
the protection.
whether you have parliament or not, people will be robbed, unfortunately. So what is the point, really? I
Not
don't
to
understand.
be technical. Because now I use the constitution in the format when he suit whoever he suit. That's why we say we need a draft of a constitution that will able to bring understanding to the people that when things like these are outlined.
But Rasayo,
Yes,
if I
yes,
can call
yes,
it
that's
name,
it.
right?
Yeah, man, you can call me name because
Yeah,
me
right.
explain about it.
The
Me explain
Constitution,
no one.
the Constitution, it doesn't matter of being afraid of anyone, right? But I want you to,
No, I don't nothing about it. Brother.
I just want you to understand, right? That
Yes.
the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. And I would agree with you that the Constitution needs amending, right? I have absolutely no problem with that. Because, and we had a golden opportunity to amend the Constitution when we had some 9 members on the government benches, so you would have had the 2/3. So if these guys were serious about amending the Constitution, then we would have had the Constitution amended. But this Constitution you're speaking to is very clear in terms of the summoning, the prorogation, and the dissolution of the Parliament. And it reads, and I quote it, it says under Part 3, Section 46, subsection 1, it says, each session of Parliament, it reads, and I'm quoting here, each session of Parliament shall be held at such place within St. Christopher and Nevis, and it shall begin at such time not being later than 180 days from the end of the preceding session. In other words, once this session is done, we must have a parliament within 180 days, as if it's prorogued. Once it's prorogued, then it comes up in 80 days, as I said. But when it is dissolved, the Constitution speaks to that. It says on 90 days from the holding of a general election of representative, if Parliament has been dissolved. And that's very clear. That's what the Constitution says. Whether you believe it should change or not, it is what the Constitution says.
I would like to ask something, Brother Patches, please. Now, in this context of what we're seeing here, much of the people got the understanding of what you just read out to them fully. Because I have a copy of the Constitution, so when you're reading it, and none to this point to me. I have a copy of the Constitution physically.
So read the section that you have there for me then. Am I reading something wrong?
I'm not in Bastia.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Far away from Bastia right now. I'm 16 and 3/4 miles out of Bastia.
Uh-huh.
You see? I'm in Daybed.
Uh-huh. So what you're making, Rasayo?
Me here.
So what's the point you're making? I don't quite understand you.
I'm trying to tell you that many of the people who you just read out this here too, do they have a copy of the Constitution, whether it's online or have it physically, so they can understand it for their own self. Instead you're reading it out to them.
But it's online. It's online. They can access it online.
That's if they have it online or they read it for their own self.
But the
because a lot of people can't read it.
Oh, I'm not.
And it's a fact.
Well, that's
I mean,
that's a different. That's a different story. There.
No, you got to be factual. I only reading the thing to convene a proposition. You all have to put things in point that the people could understand what's going on. Don't read it for your own proposition.
But
and it's the thing we need to educate the people. We need to educate the people them properly.
So let me read this part and see if the people, see if you'll understand this part, right? Let's read this section for them, right? It says under section, let me see if I find it here. And I don't know what's in this that people can understand. In section 48, it speaks to holding of elections, and it reinforces the point I am making. In subsection 1, it says, and I read, a general election of members of the National Assembly shall be held at such time within 90 days after any dissolution of Parliament as the governor may appoint. Is that straightforward?
Okay, don't you read that there. So that means 90 days could come and the Prime Minister must call election that time either.
No, he must call within 90 days. It says shall. It says shall. It says the national it says shall.
You can override that shall too, you know that?
Oh, come on.
You know that?
We're not in Russia.
I technical enough in.
Okay,
I graduated I never see, you know. I graduated in college here.
Okay,
but you're a good man, you know. You're a good man, eh?
I try
and keep your head up.
Thank you.
Keep your head up.
Thank you,
keep your head up, man.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
Okay, because
thank you for your input.
where there's a will, there's a way.
Thank you. Got you.
You all have a safe night.
Have a safe night as well, my dear brother. Thanks for your input. That's Ras Aya. But let's go back to the lines. Caller, you are live. Hello, caller.
Mr. Liburd.
How are you, my dear?
Me again. Don't let nobody tie you up. 20 years ago, nobody could tell them nothing. They come and tie you up. When you done say, you done say. Now repeat nothing for nobody. You know what's not fair? The opposition give all their people houses, jobs, even arcade, and did not give some people nothing. But now the same Labour people still there in all the jobs, and no minister was looking out for put them there. The same opposition laughing at them. Maybe the other ministers give, but not central. It's them way in an election and want to talk about the Prime Minister giving people out. He gave to put him there. God will work it out. God will work it out. One thing I know, God will work it out. Get home safely.
Thank you very much, my dear. Sounds again like Alice in Wonderland. Let us go back to the lines. Caller, I'll take this call. Caller, you live.
Thank you very much, my dear. Sounds again.
Are you there, caller?
Yeah. How you doing, brother?
Are you there, caller? Hello, caller?
Yes. This is...
Yes, caller.
This is Selvin. Okay, just want to say my condolence to my brother. In Canada, our beloved brother. You know who he is. I'm so sorry to know that our brother is passed.
Who's the brother that has passed? Hello? Are you there, Selvin?
He's the thing with you.
Yeah, what's his name?
He used to compete with you in the 1 o'clock.
Yeah, but what's his name? I'm not thinking of that brother. Who is he?
Bobby J.
Bobby J has passed?
Yes, I've heard that today. Yes, I heard that today.
My brother Bobby J?
Yes, my brother Bobby J.
I don't believe that.
Yeah, I heard that today. I was at the garage of a tennis place, and I heard that today that Bobby J has passed. So we need to look into it and see.
I hope not, my brother. But death is a process. So
yeah.
I'm lost for words. Yes, we sang together. Bobby and I, we sang together. Yes, you know.
I know that, and we work together too. I am Selvin, you know, Matthew, you know.
Yes, Selvin, I got you.
So therefore, listen to me. tonight I know there was a lot of obstruction with people that are confronting you, but you made a valid statement about the constitutions and the situation of tonight's argument pertaining to the realization of the Constitution. Why can our people come to a negotiation within themselves to realize that we are to wake up and have common sense about what Constitution is and what education is and how our government function? What's happened to our people? I know you've been trying your best to relate to them, to try to get them to awaken into that matter. We don't want to argue with nobody. We don't want to be frustrated with anybody, but they need to realize what the Constitution is. It is. We live in America and other places, so therefore, let it be.
You're perfectly right, my dear brother. You're perfectly right, but it's what Straight Talk is all about. I mean, each one has to teach one. Everyone has the view. We respect the views of all the callers. We don't necessarily have to accept them, but we respect them. And I believe the little to and fro, little debate is good for other people as well, because the people are making the point, which is respectfully a nonsense point, that the government doesn't exist. Once the parliament is dissolved, and it's the parliament, not the government, the parliament is dissolved. So there's no more parliament. It's as simple as that.
Why they don't understand?
Yeah, right. But government continues. Government must function. What's going to happen to you? Right? You have a ministerial appointment appointed by the Governor General, until which what the Prime Minister did, he revoked the appointment. The Governor General revoked the appointment upon the advice of the Prime Minister. That's straightforward. And I read the Constitution, and it's very clear. If you want to argue to change the Constitution, that's fine. But it's one of the most difficult things to do is to amend the Constitution.
But you did elaborate on the matter so determiningly, and you did elaborate on the matter. So what is the commonsensical matter of our understanding, knowing that our people cannot understand that? What is the Constitution of a government matter? And they want to make an argument over the matter? Brother, you have done enough to make us very wise to what is a Constitution matter and what is wise to what life is all about. How can we not understand? What is the argument about? They want to fight with you or what?
Okay, I got you, man. I got you. Well, we know that's what life is all about. There are differences. We're different people. We do be at variance with each other at times, and that's accepted. Okay? But I hope the news you gave me is not wrong news. But I don't believe that you'll come here and feed us with wrong news.
Okay, I will confirm it to you. I'll call you tomorrow.
Okay, please. Thank you. But I'll find out after my show as well.
Okay, great.
Thanks a lot for your input, man.
All right, good.
Thank you, sir. Caller, you're live.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Liburd. Thank you for presentation. Now, first I must say blessings to all, and I thank the Lord for the showers of rain we had today. So it is very blessed in many ways, and we just need to keep preserving it. generally speaking, but we're going through a trial period. I must say here, Mr. Liburd, I don't agree with some of the things you say, and also your approach. I must say that respectfully. But I must say this evening, you raise a very good point. When I heard the report from the NGOs, I had to ask myself, just as you did, where were these people all along? Where were they? Where the now former minister, but at the time, using regulations that they put into force, and they go asking to that's one. Then you have the absence of then Deputy Prime Minister from the cabinet meeting for 3 months, 2 months in, and we learned afterwards. So then, no one from these NGOs. Then you had, what happened next? I was actually shocked when I heard speaking about, well, he has given the Prime Minister 24 hours, and I'm looking at my time, 9 o'clock, and he needs to get back to me. I said, what arrogance? Wow. What? This is a subordinate talking to the Prime Minister of the country, and he's telling the public, I'm giving it. Right? That's how it is. And, continuing. And then when they did go to the Governor General to sign this paper, I said to myself, these people have been in Parliament and they don't know. Talking about keep speaking about something. One English to see man. And so we have to respect the fact that what he did was the correct step. And the Constitution speaks to that, as we have been told all along. And I think it's 52.7. We have a constitutional monarchy. He represents the Queen, constitutional monarchy. He does not rule, as the Queen doesn't rule in the United Kingdom. But there's a special role for them during, after election, up to the first assembly. That is when we hear about the person who commands the majority, etc., etc. That's the role they have there. After that Prime Minister has been confirmed by that National Assembly and goes into government, he takes charge of the government, not the Governor General. So the Governor General indicated to them he has no such authority under our Constitution. And what is sad is we have qualified people here who could be helping the general public to understand what the Constitution means, what it says. But these same people are trying to, you could say, muddy the waters. It is terrible to see. And you hear all of this conflict. Again, as I said, it's amazing that these NGOs did not come up at that time to say, well, let us hear something from these people. And even in that report that was said, that was what was given in the report about they're telling the Prime Minister that he must call the elections. Well, that is not for them to do. The Prime Minister has that authority. That's what the Constitution says again. If you dissolve the Prime, you have up to 90 days. So we know there's an outside limit. If after the outside limit nothing happens, then we can argue. And, they can do all of these things. But he has that time. So just wait. We have just another, less than 2 months now. Can they wait? They have to learn to be patient. And I would have expected, other than anything else, for the NGOs to be calling not just on here and there, but on the general public to, conduct themselves in a proper manner, whether on the social media and what have you. That's what they should be doing. And praying for the country. Not to be saying that they don't run the country. They run their specific areas, whether it is, all these different civil society organizations or the private sector. They run those things. And moving on to, well, I must say I commend the Prime Minister in this instance that he had to preserve the integrity of the governing system and ensure the stability of the country. If these people are not turning up the cabinet, you can't have 2 and 3 governments. Our constitution allows for 1 Prime Minister and 1 government at a time. When they get in, then they can do what they have to do, if they get in. But once he's there, he had to preserve that. If they're not turning up the cabinet, then they're running their own governments. We only want 1 government at a time. And so he has maintained the stability. Now, having said that, I must also say, though, that I could understand the concern moving forward about what happens during this transition. Because all of a sudden we're hearing the Bastille High School is going to start and this is going to thing and so on. So there should be a calmer, I think, position. And I must say, on the topic of the Bastille High School, at least they should try to clean up the East Park range. Because even if you start the project now, it's going to be at least 2 years before anybody can enter into that school. So at least clean up the East Park range area so that people could have more space during this COVID period. But there's so much going on here, and we just have to pray and ask the Lord for proper guidance. And as I said before, I'm going to say it again, I salute the Governor General. He has done a marvelous job, he has done the right thing, and we need to just stay firm there. I am going to just end by saying this because soon the public, the voters, they're going to, in the end, make a decision as to where they're going to go. I don't know if we want to go back. I can't imagine that we would want to go back to this type of thing, which could happen if you just recycle. We need fresh persons, if I may say so, in terms of leadership. We have them in St. Kitts. We have them in Nevis. We want to have a stable a government and a country that we can look forward to, and not this rah-rah-rah, because what is happening is so disrespectful. So I'm going to just end, if I may say this, with this quote of Shakespeare, Julius Caesar, which I'm sure you know. This fortune omitted all the voyage of their life out in shallows and in miseries. On such a full sea are we now afloat, and we must take the current when it serves or lose our ventures. That's the decision that the people of the country, which I'm very happy that we are going to have to make that decision. Let us make the decision. And let's just wait for that. I want to just add one thing further here, which I didn't want to forget this part. There's this question about the government and the parliament. Again, if we had sincere persons or legal persons, they would have been explaining this properly. Because it's clear, the parliament has been dissolved on the advice of the Prime Minister to the Governor General. There were 90 days, we have no less than 70 days. But 52.6 specifies clearly, when it is dissolved, the person who was Prime Minister, and the people could go back to 52.6, let them read it. And the legal people should be explaining all of these things. The person who is Prime Minister can be appointed Prime Minister. Those who are representatives and senators can be appointed ministers. In other words, to strengthen your point, the government continues. But it is clear. Why aren't these people saying that? Aren't they aware of that? So, again, I am glad that you brought up these areas. I, too, was very amazed and surprised that the NGOs are only now finding their voice. And if they had found their voice before, we might not have been in this predicament. Thank you very much.
Kolo?
Yes.
Can I say something to you, right? I want to thank you for your sound intervention, or I should say your sound interventions as usual. But diversity is the spice of straight talk. So even if we are at variance, we always respect each other. So you are at liberty to disagree with me as your host. I want to show you that, and we will still respect each other. Okay?
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Thanks.
Thanks a lot for that call. We go back to the lines. seem to have missed that call. And just for information, I just got some information that the caller who intimated or suggested that my good friend and brother Bobby J was dead, I understand that that in fact is not accurate information. So I'll take that as fact coming from this caller. Caller, you are live. Hello, caller.
Close contact with them, and I think maybe I might have been one of the first to hear that Bobby J went in, but as you said, you will look into it, and I know you will.
I understand that is not accurate information.
Right. But Patrick, what I'm saying, there is nothing to surprise about these guys. You had 3 lawyers, 3 so-called top lawyers that wrote a letter to the governor and forget to put on the date and the time when they wrote the letter and so on. So it's not a surprise to hear what they are doing. The Prime Minister have a mandate that you dissolve the House and such, and you call election in that time period. When there was a DJ by the name of Rambo DJ on top of the radio station attacking the Governor General and the Attorney General in this country and other dignified people at this country, where there is. They never call into no radio station and say, no, how could you allow this thing to happen? But they're dragging the Governor General, a respectable man like him, to the mud every day, every morning, and the Prime Minister. Where the MGO, the NGO, or the General, or what you want to call them. All of them is a bunch of crook. Okay? God bless you, Patrick, and keep up the good work you're doing. Step home. Anything the Prime Minister tell you to do, I deal with you. So don't worry about it.
Thank you very much, my dear brother. That's the king of the people's king, I should say. Let us go back to the lines. Caller. Are you there, caller? Yes, you're live, sir.
I want to say amen to the lady before Rock and amen to Rock. And Rock have said some of the things that I wanted to say, but I'm going to say it still. There is a media platform, and it seems like the purpose of that platform is to encourage people to go on that platform to disrespect the office of the Prime Minister, the office of the Governor, and the office of the AG. And it's okay with the owner of the platform. So where were these people? Were they in a yellow submarine on the water? So they don't know what was going on? And all of a sudden now they want to come and tell the Governor what to do and the Prime Minister what to do? And they call themselves lawyers. According to my good friend, Mr. Mapp, they're educated idiots. Educated idiots. Now, one of my good callers them on the radio, he called me today and he tell me that on his way home this morning from work, he was in a passenger bus. And the bus had on the radio station with the Rambo DJ. And he saying this, if Timothy win this election, there will be civil riot, CIVILRIOT, in St. Kitts. That is what we call inciting violence. And I know if the Commissioner of Police hear that, or the police hear that, and they should go and deal with it. Because when those incite violence 93 to Battle and Stone down Church Street after Dr. Simmons, police were down the lane with tear gas. And a lot of people had to go to hospital. And then after that, Dr. Douglas went over care on the political platform and tell them he not afraid the body, he could incite. I remember that, I could incite and we'll do it again, That is inciting violence. And if Battle stone the leg again, I don't know what would happen. But when we had a match, the first match we had with Team Unity before election, when we reached down by Central Street and to go down further down Churchy, there was barbed wire. And some police pulled down Lindsey Grant on the wire, and they say he pushed down the wire, and they carry him over there, they go lock him up. He no hit the police. He hit the police, they lock him up. And now that he and the police had confrontation, and he shoved the police kick apparatus for the hand, that is what you call battery to law enforcers, which is the police. Okay. And they lock him up. Okay. Something wrong. Anyway, Patches, yes. You have a good night. Thank you until Thursday, because a storm is for Thursday. Make sure the connection is good Thursday.
Okay, thank you for your input,
all right,
my dear brother. I'd much prefer, and I say so respectfully, that we avoid this in reference to other programs, because I don't listen to them, to be quite frank with you. But let's go to the lines, caller. I want to thank you for holding your live. Hello, caller.
Hello?
Are you there, caller?
Hello?
Yes, you're live.
Hey, Patches, it's Bobby J.
Hey, Bobby, speak up. Hi, Bobby.
How are you doing, man?
Oh, I am so much better, my brother. Good to hear you. Why are they spreading this rumor that you died? The wages of sin is death, you know? And you're not a sinner.
You know, I won't say that, but no, my son just called me. Jai just called me, and then Sheldon Pemberton called me. Then my cousin, then June called me, and then Joan called me, and I said, "What the heck is going on?" You know, so I figured, you know, I sent you a message on Facebook, but I figured I better call in and make sure everybody hear my voice that I'm alive and well. I just got out of the shower and I'm sitting down relaxing.
Bobby J.
Doing very well.
I'm happy you called, my brother, because I said I did not believe it.
No. I figured, you know, I figured I'll just call in and say hi. I haven't talked to you for a long time anyway. So how are you doing, man? Yeah.
I'm good. What about yourself? I know your song has been hitting the UK charts, you know. So when this guy called and said Bobby J dies, I mean the way, like I said, death is a process, but I did not believe it. Right? Yeah, we have communicated. I follow you on Facebook from time to time when I get some time, but I'm happy you're calling, my brother.
Yeah. No problem, man. I just figured I'll do that though. But anyway, let's stay in touch and yeah, we'll keep in touch anyway, man.
Yes, we should. We should right. Even more so now.
That's right.
Yes, my brother.
Anyway, one love to all the people, man, and my family and friends. All right.
Yeah, thanks for calling, Bobby J. Thanks for calling, my brother.
You're welcome, man. Take it. Yeah.
My brother.
Take it. Thank you, man. Okay. Have a good night.
Have a good night. Well, my Straight Dog family, you've heard it from, as we say in colloquial terms, you've heard it from the horse's mouth, and that was Bobby J himself. Bobby J himself calling, and Bobby J is alive and well. So let's not think about it. Caller, you're live. Thank you for holding. Hello,
Bobby J calling. Good evening, everybody out there in Radioland, and good evening, Servant Ambassador Ian Patches Liburd. How are you doing?
Good evening, my brother. I am peaceful. And yourself? Haven't heard you for some time. Are you well?
I am. Yes, I certainly am well. I am keeping abreast.
You are?
I tried to get in the last time unsuccessfully. You had a great program, and I tried to get in unsuccessfully. I'm sorry, but even before I continue, I'm reminded here about Mark Twain, who said, "The report of my death are grossly over-exaggerated."
Exaggerated, yes.
Congratulations, Bobby J. Keep on living until you are dead.
I was following up on that. So you tell me something very briefly, and I won't be long, I promise you. So tell me. I've always been told that upon the dissolution of Parliament, that we no longer have a PM. Is that true or false?
Totally false. Totally false.
It is totally false. I am going to take it from you because I'm going to put it on the air.
But I can let me substantiate that, if you can use that term, right? I say it's false
Indeed.
because the Section 47 of the Constitution, which speaks to prorogation and dissolution, in subsection 5, it reads, and I quote it, if after a dissolution of Parliament and before the holding of the general elections of representatives, the Prime Minister advises the Governor General that because of some matter of urgent national importance, it is necessary to recall Parliament, the Governor General shall summon the Parliament that has been dissolved to meet, but the general election of representatives shall proceed, and the Parliament that has been recalled shall, if not sooner dissolved, again stand dissolved on the date appointed for the nomination of candidates in that general election. You are a highly intelligent friend of mine, and I'm sure you'll understand.
I am following you, and I am following you keenly. But
so the Prime Minister still exists. That's what he's saying in a nutshell.
That is what it's saying in a nutshell. But remember that it is only under specific conditions.
Yeah, but the Parliament and the government are two separate institutions. And although we don't discuss that, what has happened? They ask the question, what happens to the government when Parliament is dissolved? They're two different institutions. And as I said, we didn't go into the separation of powers and so on, but the ministers still exist. They must manage their departments. It is very clear.
So therefore, the government is still very active, and we still have a prime minister.
Very much so, my brother. That's why the Prime Minister fired those 6 vagrants, and the Governor General assigned portfolio.
No. He fired them before dissolving Parliament. Did he not?
It was done simultaneously, if I recall.
Oh, it was done simultaneously.
Okay. I said Simos. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Okay. Yeah, and it seems to be of great credit to you, and may I dare say, for much of the nation too, and for different reasons. Because I would tell you something. You've missed your calling, my dear brother.
I did.
Yes, you have. You've missed your calling. I think that you could have done much better saving lost souls for the kingdom of God, rather than lead confused souls down the path of perdition. You will.
Path of what?
You will.
The path of what?
Down the path of perdition.
Okay.
And this is just not an empty statement, as would become clear by my next 2 questions. Now, if you are the boss of a multinational corporation that succeeds, who gets the credit? It's not a rhetorical question. Who gets the credit?
I'll take it as one.
Huh?
I'll take it as a rhetorical question.
Well, okay then.
What's the second one?
Okay, it's a rhetorical question because the boss gets the credit. But if you delegate and 2 sections of that far-flung family fail, who should ultimately take the blame? The answer is equally obvious. You cannot take the credit and do not take the blame. You are the boss in the house. Now, you've been a boss in your department for years. Some may not have liked how you approach your duties, but from every report you were strict concerning your stewardship in spite of opposition and hardship. But as a consequence of that, you would understand me when I say that we twice gave you an overwhelming mandate. You couldn't even finish the second leg without devolving into confusion. Man, you've been in relationships all of your life. I've helped you bury some of your children, not to bring up anything too painful. So I know it would resonate with you when I say it's better to live on a housetop, you know about women, than to dwell in a sprawling palace with a cantankerous woman. Who needs that? Yours is a house defined by and punctuated with explosive confusion. Is it not? I said before closing. Is it not? Reverend Ambassador, again I entreat you. You're my friend. You will always be my friend. I don't care.
For life, for life.
Who likes it when I say, but I say get your house in order, because the end is near. And I'm persuaded that no trick devised and tried will prevail. We are walking out of destination. I'm talking about to start anew under the auspices of the Labour Party led by Dr. Drew. Time will prove that this pronunciation is both timely and prophetic. I love you, my brother. Have a great evening.
Have a great evening.
Good evening, folks.
Have a great evening, my dear brother.
Bless you.
God bless you as well, my dear brother. Prophetic, you said, but time will tell. At the expense of time, we will learn. But the people, up to a few days ago, said that Prime Minister Harris is the best leader for St. Kitts, for a better St. Kitts and Nevis. And I believe that the people will punish those who try to destabilize the country. But as we said tonight, I'll get back before we get derailed, that the government does not resign when Parliament is dissolved. Government ministers remain in charge of their departments. And as I said earlier, I'll repeat it. I'll repeat it one more time, that government is continuous. Parliament and government are two separate institutions. And I'm sure that we all are familiar with the three separate branches of government. I spoke to Montesquieu, beg your pardon, or Charleston Louis. But let's go to the lines, and caller, I want to thank you for holding your live.
That is good night, good night.
Good night, my dear brother. Culture, how about thou tonight?
Plenty difficulties tonight, man.
Yes, in the beginning, yes, we have.
But anyway, God is love.
Yes, yes.
But it's so, I want to thank God for life. Thank God for the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Country born 202 up to now. I'm doing well for myself. And you only can do it because encouragement and togetherness and work as one. That is, I want to talk about the unity government we had. Now, Patches, everybody was saying how good this government is. People was praising up, we were calling the praising of the ministers, them, telling they're doing a wonderful job even when you was there. Up to when you come out, we still to praise you for your job what you have done and do it for the people of this federation. Now, Patches, in every organization, whether in family, in a business organization, everybody, that every family members are business members, we got the problem, the little problem. And problem could work out easy. Now, Patches, say this to say that. I want the people of this Federation of St. Kitts Nevis, when they go out and vote, forget about the CCM, forget about the People's Action Movement, because those people is who got this country in the crisis that we're into right now. You understand? Everybody complaining to me and telling me that why we in an election mode, you know, but I don't believe we don't even go to vote. Because time not come yet to go vote. This is an election mode yet. If I feel stupid, you know, why this is thinking? And all those kind of things people telling me, if this is thinking. Because some greedy men surrounding the Prime Minister just for themselves and not for the people of the country. Because if there was for the people of the country, the government was doing so well. And there was for the people of the country. I believe that they will back off and settle down and try to run out the last 3 years, possibly 5 years, instead of doing what they're doing. But they have no love to the country. And people say that they had enough of PAM, they had enough of labor. And Patches, I believe that the only way the country can move forward is the PLP with Dr. Harris, with the candidate them, because all of them knew. All of them knew. And Patches, they will mold and go man with Dr. Harris. And I believe that will bring a better and a St. Kitts Nevis. Because Patches, it don't make sense to put them to party there then. Party PLPs, I mean PLPs in your party, the People Labour Parties and your party. And with these young men and women around Dr. Harris as Minister of Government, Dr. Harris with experience will groom them and bring them. We'll make a difference in this country and put away the tribalism politics. The tribalism politics get out the door now, Patches, and let the country move forward. With this labor and PAM, labor and PAM, labor and PAM. People, you all go out there and work for PLP and let the country move forward whenever they build. I think you have a wonderful night because that's the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis, and God bless you.
Thanks.
You're doing a good job.
Thanks a lot, my dear brother. Have yourself a wonderful night, and may God bless you as well. In the event you joined us late and we just about winding up, I'm giving you back the time we lost at the beginning. We lost some time, so I just made up the time for you, and we had some difficulties with our telephones, and I do want to apologize for that, but we got over things eventually, and I'm happy that we did. But as I said in the beginning, my Straight Dog family, I listened to a news item presented by veteran journalist Glenn Barth, and I found its content quite interesting. More than that, it was very interesting to note that the St. Kitts and Nevis's Christian councils, the leadership in those councils, and as well as the evangelical associations of St. Kitts and Nevis, the leadership as well, coupled with I refer to them as the Union of Employers. They come together as a union of employers, the St. Kitts Nevis Chamber of Industry and Commerce, also the Bar Association. And respectfully, I submit that they seem to have suddenly woke up from a deep slumber. And I said so when I heard this news item, an excerpt of which I'll play at this moment, which went like, or goes like this, my Straight Talk family, by Glenn Bart, who reported this, my Straight Talk family.
So, the Nevis Christian Council, the St. Kitts Evangelical Association, the Nevis Evangelical Association, the St. Kitts Nevis Chamber of Industry and Commerce, and the St. Kitts and Nevis Bar Association have issued joint communique to all political parties and candidates urging adherence to an updated code of conduct leading into the general elections expected before 9th August 2022. In an open letter to Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris, the group noted that the code of conduct should be mandatory after the dissolution of the National Assembly. The group also raised several concerns with Prime Minister Harris. In the open letter, the NGOs stated observations have been made of actions and activities that could affect confidence in the electoral system, create social instability, and which could undermine the respect for true democracy and the rule of law.
And my Straight Talk family, I mentioned the word slumber because the Bar Association, for example, must have been fast asleep, or it just turned its head the other way when two of its members acted like real gangsters in the misappropriation of their clients' money. Unfortunately, two of the said members, or both of the said members, were former members of cabinet. One of these paid thousands of dollars to a so-called marketing company to market our destination and subsequently be named Best Tourism Minister, I think, of the Caribbean or something like that. Next thing you heard, that he ratted up a police officer at the last lap. For a moment, I thought that the Christian councils and the evangelical associations lost their moral compass as the reprehensible behavior of our cabinet members, our former cabinet members, went unnoticed and or were overlooked by these Christian bodies. COVID-19 ravaged economies across the whole wide world, and employees are still out of jobs. But here in St. Kitts and Nevis, I've always asked myself whether the St. Kitts Union of Employees, or Employers I should say, called the Chamber of Industry and Commerce, could have presented another option to their strict policy to terminate if workers refuse to vaccinate. But what bothered me though was this, my Straight Talk family. What bothered me most about this particular release was this, as I said before, my Straight Talk family.
Policy decisions and public statements, or signing contracts and implementing projects that could commit an incoming government.
My Straight Talk family, when I reflected on the content of this open letter to the Prime Minister, it made me wonder if these church leaders and or the leaders of the NGOs who signed the joint communique, if they are aware that governments all over the world are continuous and do not come into office or even exist in isolation or a vacuum, and this includes the St. Kitts Nevis government. Governments are therefore successive and should not be looked at in isolation. To tell a prime minister, for example, to name a date for the general election borders on being rather offensive, and it is ultra-virus to the St. Kitts Nevis Constitution, which states in Part 3, Section 46, and I quote, "Each session of Parliament shall be held at such place within St. Christopher and Nevis, and shall begin at such time, not being later than 180 days from the end of the preceding session, if Parliament has been prorogued." But Parliament is dissolved. And it goes on to say, on 90 days from the holding of a general election of representatives, if Parliament has been dissolved, as the Governor General shall appoint by proclamation. This is even reinforced in Section 48, subsection 1, which reads, and I quote, "A general election of members of the National Assembly shall, underline, shall be held at such time within 90 days after any dissolution of Parliament as the Governor General may appoint." And I posit the view that the ability to dissolve the Parliament is a royal prerogative exercised on the advice of the Prime Minister. But the question we ask ourselves, and we must ask ourselves, based on what the NGOs and the churches or leaders of the churches wrote, is what happens to the government when Parliament is dissolved. And I submit that Parliament and government are two separate institutions. Two separate institutions, my Straight Talk family. And I further submit as well that when the Parliament is dissolved, and look at it, listen to it, the Parliament is dissolved, not the government. So when the Parliament is dissolved, the government does not resign. Government ministers remain in charge of their departments. And for those who ask the question, because someone asked the question as well about the parliamentarians, and it goes on to say in Section 47, subsection 5, which tells us all about it. If, I quote, "after a dissolution of Parliament and before the holding of the general elections of representatives, the Prime Minister," so there has to be a Prime Minister, "the Prime Minister advises the Governor General that because of some matter of urgent national importance, it is necessary to recall Parliament, the Governor General shall summon the Parliament that has been dissolved to meet. But the general election of representatives shall proceed, and the Parliament that has been recalled shall, if not sooner, dissolve again, and is stand dissolved on the date appointed for the nomination of candidates in that general election." So government continues. Government is a continuum, as we said, my Straight Talk family, and that should not be debated. So when they're telling us about getting or naming elections or date for elections, nonsense, my Straight Talk family, borders on being offensive. The government, in the meantime, or the time remaining, the next 2 months or more that's remaining, still remains responsible for public services. It must ensure that public services are being delivered. Our health service, national security, water, electricity, the public goods, I should say. But I would agree with the Chamber of Industry and Commerce. I agree with the Bar Association. I agree with the Christian Councils of St. Kitts and Nevis and the Evangelical Associations of St. Kitts and Nevis that there ought to be rules in relation to the conduct of government business during this pre-election period. There should not be any new initiatives or any new policy changes. I agree with that. But my Stray Dog family, the continuity of government is the principle of establishing defined procedures that allow a government to continue its essential operations, especially in the case of a catastrophic event, in our case like a hurricane, a storm, and COVID, for example. But my Stray Dog family, the continuity of government is intended to preserve the form of government, continuity of the rule of law, to ensure general safety and protect, beg your pardon, the government from illegal assumption of power. So my Stray Dog family, on the basis of the constitutional rules of St. Kitts and Nevis, the general or the dissolution of parliament will be used to renew government's mandate, and more so should be used to elect the best leader for a better St. Kitts and Nevis. Government ministers remain in post and continue to run their departments, even though the parliament is dissolved. They will only be replaced when a new government is formed following a general election. The difference now is that 6 of the government ministers were fired, and rightly so. They were using their office or their offices to destabilize the country. The Deputy Prime Minister refused to attend cabinet meetings for over 3 months. My Stray Dog family, as I said before, the established convention that there should be pre-election restrictions or codes of conduct on what government can do following the dissolution of parliament in terms of both initiating policy and in the use of official resources. I totally agree that there should be a code. But to tell the country that the present government cannot sign contracts or implement my Stray Dog family projects that would likely commit an incoming government ignores the principal fact that for sustained progress and development, government ought to be continuum, as the inherent limitation of 5 years imposed by our Constitution means that leaders with long-term goals for success and beneficial projects which may go beyond their tenure will have to rely on their successors, my Stray Dog family, and to continue to buy into their plan and continue execution for the public good. Government, as I said before, my people, is a continuum. It is continuous. That's my story tonight, and I am not going to change it. My Stray Dog family, I would leave it, as I said, until we continue next week. I want to thank you I thank Almighty God, I should say, for guiding our conversation tonight. And as always, I want to thank you, my people. I want to thank you for participating. Those of you who called, those of you who emailed, I want to say to you, those of you on social media, remember, you are the ones who make Straight Talk, and for that reason, I say a big, big thank you. I must apologize for the technical difficulties we had tonight, but come Thursday, I know we'll try to straighten that out and make sure we get back on even keel. Until we connect on Thursday, my Straight Talk family, be good to yourselves and all whom you meet. Remember, whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. But first of all, you gotta believe. So when you wake in the morning, thank God for the morning light. Thank Him for taking you through the night. And my Stray Dog family, keep moving on. Bye-bye. Until we connect on Thursday.